right, I'm playing some air guitar here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Brady's PhD, episode 198. For those who are counting, yes, we are closing in on 200, Jason. We're absolutely closing in.
We've been doing this a long. We're getting too old for this shit.
Exactly. We have to go find some. We're gonna go find two younger dudes to go take this over. Just franchising out.
That's right.
But yeah, thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on this Friday evening, yeah, we got some stuff to jump into here. We got some more Watchmen to discuss because we will be picking up our Alan Moore adaptation run, as we did cover the theatrical version of Watchmen a few weeks ago. Now we're going to dive into the ultimate cut because we all know that Zack Snyder can't just have one cut of his movie. He's got to have like about 8, and they all have to be way over 3 hours. So we dove into that this week to go ahead and check that out. We also got The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 4, and James Gunn dropped the trailer for us for Peacemaker Season 2, which has a lot going on in it. Yeah, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us in the Facebook live stream, or if you're joining us on YouTube, or wherever you found your audio-only podcast, we always appreciate the support. As always, I am Ed, and with me is Jason. Jason, what's up, man? What's going on?
Nothing much. Happy to be here on a Friday night special event. This is what I would call a two-dick episode of Granny's PhD. We've never had it on before.
Yes,
we've never had it before. Is. But
yes,
but here we are. I never thought we'd be here, but here we are. 2 dicks in. We'll get to that. But a couple movie recommendations while you share out the show. I saw Sinners on Sunday. Have you seen that, Ed?
Oh, I certainly have. I saw it on that preview night immediately. I was beyond jacked up for that.
Oh, what a great movie. What a phenomenal movie. I was blown away, absolutely. My co-teacher Walter was dying to talk about it. He's been singing Irish songs for weeks now in class. Great movie. I think Michael B. Jordan, who we've covered on the show, as well as Ryan Coogler, but Michael B. Jordan deserves a goddamn Oscar for that. He plays 2 distinct roles.
Yeah, he certainly does. There was, I can't remember which website, maybe it was IGN or something like that shared something like that. Seems to be like the thing this year, where actors are playing multiple characters in the same movie, like somewhat brothers, like Pattinson. Robert Pattinson did it in Mickey 17. He ends up playing like a bunch of different versions, but mostly 2 in that. Like you mentioned, Michael B. Jordan does that in Sinners as well. Robert De Niro did that in was it the Aldo something or other? The movie got bad reviews. Like I was gonna go see because obviously it was a gangster movie and it's De Niro, so that was gonna draw me in immediately. But then the reviews were awful, and I'm like, maybe I'll wait back on that one. But
maybe wait till streaming.
Yeah, maybe. And I hate that, right? Because like I love to support movie theaters as much as possible because I feel like we're at a point right now. Like if we don't, they might not exist at some point, and that would truly break my heart. Like if there was no more, theatrical experiences, it would be awful.
I would hate that. I would hate that. But also it's very expensive, and you got to pick and choose what you go to see.
No, that's fair, and I think that's part of it.
Reality,
yeah. No, I agree, and that's also why we've chatted. I highly encourage anyone who is even like remotely into movies to do one of these unlimited things. Like whether it's AMC or Regal or there's some other. I feel like there's like 5 of them now. I encourage people to do that because I think you would. To me, it's the best streaming subscription. I mean, the best subscription I have. Better than any streaming service. I probably use it more than a lot of the streaming services that I actually pay for. So that's why I think it's probably the best bang for your buck. But hey, you've also got to have live in approximate location to a movie theater and stuff like that. So I get it. It's not like a perfect idea. Streaming is in your living room or wherever you want it to be. So it's a little bit easier. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think now that No, now that Finn's getting older, I think I'm going to do that because I took him to see the second movie that I was going to talk about was the Minecraft movie, and he wanted to see that, and so I picked him up early from his daycare yesterday, and we went over to the Midway. We had some pizza beforehand. We have a whole ritual when we go see a movie.
Nice.
And then he loved it. He was talking about it all night, telling me his favorite scenes, and then I picked him up from school today. And he's like, "Daddy, can we go see Minecraft again?" And so I might wind up taking him again next week. And so if he's really going to be into movies, I think it's time for me to get one because the only reason I don't see movies a lot is because I don't have time. But now that he's getting older and if he's getting into movies, I think it might be worth it for me.
Yeah, I think so. I think again, until I feel like a lot of people until they get the subscription, they don't realize how often they will end up using it. And again, if you see 2 movies a month, I mean, honestly, in some cases, if you see 1 movie a month, like when we work out our thing, when we go see our movies and stuff, like when I text you the total, I'm like, it's fucking subscription, like for the month. Like, what the hell? Yeah. What are we doing here? So
yeah, no, that's a good point. Something. That's a good point.
Yeah. So yeah, it's something to look into. But that's awesome to hear that. How Finn is what 4, 3?
He's 5. He's 5.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, he's in the wheelhouse now where he's starting to get into that. Nice.
Yeah, because he'll sit there and watch a movie. Like we went yesterday, and we get our snacks, and I'm like, buddy, we're walking to the theater. I'm like, what snacks you want? He's like, I don't know. I have to see what they have. And then he stops and he goes, popcorn. We always have to get popcorn when we go to the movie.
Of course.
Yeah.
Jason, so do I. Me and Angie always end up getting popcorn, even if we just ate.
Gotta have something. I mean, I always get my Reese's Pieces, which I did get yesterday. But yeah, he sits through the whole movie. About halfway through the movie, he got in the chair with me and he was laying on me while I was leaning back, and like we stayed till because there were end credit scenes I overheard, so he wanted to stay and see the whole thing. We stayed at the end of the credits, and he was engaged.
That is awesome. That is really awesome, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I got a movie goer on my hands, which is we've been taking him to the movie since he's 3. I mean, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was the first movie he saw, the one we covered here in the show.
No, I remember, and that was a pretty exciting thing, right? He got like the poster and everything to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they say they gave me the poster after the movie was out of the theater. He was engaged. He watched that movie completely. Like, the only movie I have ever tried to take him to that he didn't want to stay was the Transformers one. That's why we couldn't cover it because I had to leave.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I like it, but I don't want to watch it. It just didn't cook him." But he sat through Wicked. I mean, we took him and his friends to see Wicked, which is like 3 hours, and he sat through it. He got antsy, but he sat through it.
I mean, I didn't even see Wicked. I don't even know why I necessarily could get through it. That's why my eyes popped out of my head. I'm like, that's really impressive.
It's a musical. You hate it.
No, I know. It's just, it's sometimes, like Alfred said in the Dark Knight trilogy, it's best to know your limits, Mr. Wayne.
Exactly. Batman has no limits.
Exactly. That's great. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because like Jerry's son, Valentino, he has 2 kids right now, but he saw his first movie in a theater a couple of months ago, and out in Long Island they have a theater where you kind of can do like birthday parties and whatnot on it, and he saw Transformers 1. That was the movie that they saw, and he thought it was the greatest thing ever. So I gave him some of the posters that Angie and I got at the fan event that we went to in the advanced screening, and I gave him the posters, and he has them up on his wall in his bedroom, and like he marked. It made me think of what you told me.
Awesome.
He got to mark his first movie experience also.
That's fantastic. That's so awesome that you had that to share with him, because it really is big. Like like even when he no longer wants that poster, I'm going to keep it. That's a memento. We got that on our first time sitting there. In all fairness, his first movie was Shang-Chi, but he was 2 and he just ran around, and it was like during COVID, and my family rented out. Yeah, we rented out the theater so we could see it, but he wasn't really watching the movie, and neither was I because I'd already seen it, and so I was going around after him. But like this was the movie he sat through and had questions about, and we talked about. And
nice, that's awesome, man. That is good stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's get into our first segment now here, where we got a trailer for season 2 of Peacemaker. So let's pop that up and watch it together and get some reactions, because this dropped at like noon today. So let's see what's what.
All right. Is there dick in this? Is this a triple
They're
dick?
going to be doing
maybe
clips to get you to join.
Welcome, Peacemaker, or do you prefer Chris?
Either's fine.
Can you tell us a little about your skills?
I'm considered the finest marksman in the world.
The mic is off.
Yeah.
I am also proficient in hand-to-hand combat.
How many more of these do we have today?
Is that popcorn still here?
You love popcorn.
My butt's getting really big lately, so.
I have a variety of helmets.
This guy sucks.
Excuse me? Am I supposed to be able to hear you guys?
Excuse me?
You were talking about your butt and stuff. And also you said that I suck.
It is not funny.
I don't get it. We saved the world.
I thought everyone would finally treat us like heroes.
I don't need anybody else to just gorge my own path.
You're living in the worst level of Grand Theft Auto.
I come to the conclusion you suffer from a particularly severe form of toxic masculinity.
What?
Argus has been monitoring Peacemaker ever since Rick Flag Sr. was named director.
Does he know that I have?
Kill this time? Yeah.
Bring me Peacemaker.
Mexicali, you scan for any anomalies throughout that house. Pony Boy, don't let him out of your sight. Titties, I want you to take the front door. Encino Man, you take the back door. Got it?
Yeah, but not the fucking names, dude. You can't just call us that.
Where do you think we are? Fucking Berkeley?
We haven't always been great people. But
We are the 11th Street Kids. No one will ever break us apart.
you ready for the next adventure, pal?
Keep on keeping on.
Who the fuck are you?
All right.
That looks fun as hell. I mean,
It looks completely bonkers. I mean, quickly, the trailer part, yes, this got my excitement more from like what I was already excited for Peacemaker season 2. I didn't need to be sold on it. But this trailer, I mean, it has a lot of shit here. Like, because now remember, like, this Peacemaker is considered canon, and I know James Gunn like jokingly out loud said that outside of him meeting the Justice League briefly at the end of the finale, everything else is canon. They're kind of just pretending that didn't happen. So first things first, right? Like, we get, it looks like they're trying to like do interviews for the new Justice League, I guess, or Justice Society something like that, because Hawkeye, our new Hawkgirl, right, who is also in the girl that's in The Last of Us season 2, ironically, and Guy Gardner. Yeah, that's her. She's Hawkgirl.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I didn't clock that. That's awesome.
And we got Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, who we know is in Superman, who is now also in this. So we got Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner.
And let's not. There you go. I was going to say, let's not pretend that we got anyone but Nathan Fillion, because I am that's what I'm excited about. Anyone who knows me and knows this show knows I love me some Nathan Fillion. And I am excited to see him even in a small role in this.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much of a role that they play in this, right? Or is that just like a one episode thing? But we know we're going to see them in Superman also. Another thing too, Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr., who we met and by voice at least in Creature Commandos, is now taking over in live action, and he wants revenge on his fucking son for what Peacemaker killed his son, Rick Flag, in the Suicide Squad. Also, which is canon in this universe. So there's a lot going on here with that. And the craziest thing of all is the end scene where there's another Peacemaker, which looks like it's some sort of multiverse adventure.
That's gonna be, I don't know what's going on, but I want to know, and it's got my attention. It's got the gangs back together. I'm happy to see that. I love that Vigilante. Their version of Vigilante was great last time. We got the team back, like the literal team from from Argus. Like I'm excited to see this. And we get the fucking bird back. The bird's back.
We got Eagle. I actually have where the hell is he? I have a Funko Pop of Eagle.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Super excited for Peacemaker though. I'm glad it's I don't even remember how many years ago it came out. Just time was just flying along, but I've been dying for the show to come back because we had like a blast with the first season.
It was so much fun, and I like just from the opening credits with the dance number and the 80s rock and the tongue-in-cheekness and the fact that they weren't scared to make him look bad, as the hero, which I thought was super interesting and really worked for it. And the fact that John Cena is just so game, and John Cena is one of those guys that he's a likable guy himself, but he plays, and I guess he did his WWE stuff, right? He was the heel. He plays the asshole so well.
Yeah, it is interesting. This is coming out too, because I know this is, I know this is like his farewell tour in WWE this year, because he's like gonna officially go into acting full time. So he's kind of, what was that?
He's still wrestling?
No, well, I think he was away for years. Remember, I don't follow it at like very casually at best, I will say it. But I happened to be by Jerry's house when the night of Elimination Chamber was, so I happened to see his whole thing, and he was in the main event, and he ended up turning heel in a shocking like backstabbing thing and like teaming up with The Rock and everything. Like it was right up my alley. I mean, I love The Rock. I'm like, holy shit, do they know I'm watching this? That I would be watching this crap?
Wait. The Rock is still wrestling?
So apparently...
Astounded.
So, and Tim, if you're watching any of the guys on Just Too Sweet, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he has, like, something to do with, like, kind of, like, WWE management now, because remember, Vince doesn't own it. Like, he had to give it up, and it's purchased by another corporation. So, like Triple H is kind of like doing booking and stuff like that and running creative, and The Rock has been involved in it again. Like he's not full time at all, but like he seems to kind of like John Cena. They kind of like have these lifetime contracts, so they can kind of do some storylines for a couple of months and then like fade away and yada yada. So, but yeah, they tied them together, which I thought was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome because they're both the guys who are going and pursuing their careers. And, now that you tell me that structure, it really does support what people have always said, that this is like the male version of soap operas. Because that's exactly, I got into soap opera, one particular soap opera when I was in grad school because I needed to turn my off because I was just like, I was in grad school, I was teaching, like, and I just needed time to click it off. And so I was watching General Hospital, and you know me, I go down rabbit holes. If I get into something, I research. And it's the actors in soap operas do the same fucking thing. Like they'll go off and do other things, and they'll disappear for years, and then they'll come back, and they'll have a big storyline, and everyone, oh my god, they're back, and then they'll go away again for a couple of years. Like, it's kind of like this.
Yeah, basically. So. Yeah, so I understand John Cena like won the title at WrestleMania as the heel by like, and he like, of course turned on the fans. Oh, I did it because of yada yada and this and that. Because apparently he never wanted to turn heel again, right? After he initially broke in, and he was like the good guy, and his reasoning was, like the kids and the Make-A-Wish stuff and things like that. Of course, when he flipped heel, it was an interesting idea to do it in his farewell tour that he would turn heel, and Yeah, and then now he's Peacemaker, and I'm sure they'll be promoting the shit out of it, around that time, knowing what I know of, WWE.
Of course.
Is.
And I think
this
safe
is
to turn heel, because if he's worried about like the kids and that stuff, it's like, well, no, now he's doing this other stuff and so he could still do his Make-A-Wish stuff, and he could still do his good work, because people are gonna know him from different things now. So I really like that for him.
Yeah, me too. I'll like loosely keep an eye on, just out of curiosity to see how his farewell thing goes. But no, but with Peacemaker though, super excited. Ironically, comes out on like Angie's birthday, so I'm sure probably check that out like immediately.
Happy birthday to her.
Yeah, exactly. You get a fucking premiere of Peacemaker, so that's pretty sick. All right, so speaking of stuff that is on Max, at least, even though I'm curious to see, I didn't see if Peacemaker will also end up being on HBO, because that seems to be a thing that they're doing now, where even Max exclusive shows, like big ones, seem to be on HBO as well. Like, remember Penguin was supposed to be a strictly Max show, and then all of a sudden it became an HBO show.
That's right.
So curious to see if they
I
do
don't
that
mind.
with Peacemaker.
I mean, as long as I can stream it, put it on HBO for people who don't stream, that's fine.
Yeah, and you want to know something? Like, I actually will watch it though Sunday night at 9:00 when it drops, like one way or the other, if they're making it like event things. So.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of the current HBO event thing, we got is The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 4. Let me drop that spoiler ticker across the bottom, because we will be discussing it openly in its all spoilery goodness here. So if you didn't see Episode 4 yet, come back and check us out another time. Otherwise, let's go. This is a fucking intense episode. I mean, I feel like they're all intense episodes, but this one was a really intense episode with some like the moment with the guitar. I'm gonna be honest. I think I actually got even choked up a little bit when she was doing she was playing the guitar and stuff. You knew where that was going and stuff. And yeah, a lot of interesting stuff, especially revolving. Shoot, I'm the one who usually doesn't forget the names. With the character that was introduced in the beginning. Damn.
Oh yeah, the
Fedra guy,
the sergeant, right? The Fedra guy. Shit. All right, now let me look his name up.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you. Let me go grab it right now.
But all right, while you're looking up to a better internet, I'll talk about this show, this episode a bit briefly. Just my general thoughts at first. I thought this was a great episode. I think it had one of the best openings, that we've seen on this show. I don't know if it's the best, because I'd have to rewatch, but it's up there. It's a gripping opening. There's a lot of emotional beats, but also some good action. And when I watch this show, when I watch any show that's based on a video game, I'm always like waiting for the video game scenes. Where I could go, oh, that's got to be a playable scene. And when they're getting through the subway and escaping and stuff, I'm like, oh, this is you definitely. When I play that game eventually, I'm going to be running through the subways trying to get away from these guys.
Oh yeah, and I know it's funny you mentioned that too, because I feel like, and I'm again the one who hasn't played games in a bit. When it's a show like this, I do kind of think to myself at times the same thing. Like, I wonder if this sequence was in the game. Like, this had to be in the game, or where they're getting ammos, or you get like a special weapon or something like that. I'm like, it's gotta be.
Yeah. And then like when they're in the subway and Dinah gets up, and then Ellie tries to go, and then they go to grab her. It's like, now clearly this was part of the action part of the game.
Oh, so I can't find a character's name, but it's Jeffrey Wright, who's also our current Commissioner Gordon.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So, but Jeffrey Wright is great every time we see him in anything.
Huge talent. Yeah. And no, this is no exception. And so he starts us off. He's in the first scene, and the first scene I think it was like 15 years or 17 years prior. It's a while before this show, right? Present day. And he's in a Fedra truck. He's the CO, commanding officer, and they are clearly like jackboot Nazi types, right? Like where they don't give a shit about the people. They're high on power, and they're telling a story about the worst of them, Greenberg, where he was so stupid, and he came out, and the guy tells him, I caught them, disseminating pamphlets and stuff. And he goes, oh, what, they're jerking off out here? This is disgusting. And the guy tries to correct him, one of the disseminators, and he busts his teeth. And he tells this really graphic story that they're all laughing at, right? And the new guy, and this, I don't know, did you think at all of like at the end of this scene, like it was a reverse Die Hard 2, where it's like the new guy's the only one to survive this?
Yeah. That definitely, like, crossed my mind there briefly for a second.
And so the new guy's like, they're like, yeah, then these voters, and they all laugh, and the new guy's like, why do you call them voters? I don't fucking know. And that's when Jeffrey Wright's like, well, we call them voters because Fedra took their right to vote away, and now we use that to make fun of them. And then they see some voters coming, and these guys are ready to get their guns, and Jeffrey Wright's like, I'm gonna go out there and talk to them because you're all fucking Greenbergs. I don't want this to end with violence. And he points a new guy as, you're with me. And I didn't play the video game, so I didn't know what was going to happen here. He goes out, and this is my favorite. Like, the fact that my favorite scene in the episode comes right in the beginning is crazy. But he goes out, and he goes, are you whatever her name is? And she's like, yeah. Are you whatever his name was? Yeah. It's okay. He walks casually back, takes out some grenades, pops them, throws them in with his officers, locks them in, and kills them all. And I was like, what just happened? And then he looks at the new guy and he goes, you got a choice to make. Boom.
Yeah. We don't see them for a while until the Dick scene.
The Dick, till Dick 1 lands. And then, so like we'll do his storyline, and we'll do the Ellie stuff, because I think his stuff is actually a bit more interesting to the world building. I don't know if you...
Yeah, because I think we just don't know, like, we're kind of learning about his whole thing, right? Like, with Ellie, we get it. She's on her path to get her revenge. I mean, there's also... the Ellie stuff is character building and stuff like that, right? Because obviously what happens with her. But...
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, the Jeffrey Wright stuff, you're right. That was expanding upon what the hell we're dealing with here, because we don't really know other shit's going to happen, and we talked about it last week. We were definitely speculating that, like, that's not going to be the only thing. Like, there's going to be other shit, and there's going to be another big bad for the season that's going to go on here. I do wonder if it is possibly Jeffrey Wright or not. I don't know.
I don't know either. And so the next time we see him, it's modern day, and they've got one of those cultists tied up, like bound in a kitchen. But before you even know that, we've watched enough of this. I knew someone was about to be fucking tortured. I'm sure you did too. But Jeffrey Wright is monologuing about, while he's heating up a pan, they're in a kitchen, he's monologuing about how before the outbreak, he used to want this particular type of cookware. And it's tin, and I actually kind of like this because I had to do some research for cookware when we got married, because we wanted to get the right kind of cookware. And he's talking about, like, this is tin. Tin's not a great conductor, but it's still high quality. A real good conductor is your cast iron, but when you have this, you use this. And then he's heating this pan up, and he walks over, and they got one of the cultists there, naked, dick flapping in the wind. And he's torturing this guy for information. He takes it and he puts it on his hand and he burns him. And there's this great back and forth where he's like, I need to know what you're planning. I need to know what's coming. And then the cultist is, kind of babbling for a bit. And he goes, well, you started this. You did this. You broke the treaty. And this I thought was excellent. Jeffrey Wright's like, I'm not here to argue. Did we break the treaty? Did you break the treaty? Did I start this? Did you start this? Doesn't matter. It started. I need to know what's coming for my people.
Yeah, and he tells him straight out, like, listen, you have.
Yeah. No, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, he lays it out for him because he's like, listen, we have hospitals, we have, cities and stuff like that. We're prepared. We're stocked up for this shit. You have like your belief system and your fairy tales and all this other shit. Like, tell me, how are we losing this? He's ultra confident that they've got them outnumbered and outmanned and out strategized and everything like that. But he's just like, just give me the fucking information I want. And like, that's it. I don't want to hear about your bullshit. And he's like praying at times. He's talking about how like, was it like they'll have my souls and all this other. He's like, just shut the fuck up and just give me the damn thing. And the burns he has in his, and he tells him to stick his hand out, like for it. Yeah. And I think like the dude who's there is like, oh, I'll be protected. It'll be okay. I'll put my hand out. And you're like, no, he's burning your fucking hand off. And he's like, I'll burn every part of you.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit until you give me the information I want to know.
And when he asks him right before the end of this interrogation, when he asks him, give me what I want, after he tells him that speech, the guy's answer is just to put his unburned hand out without even being asked. And I thought it was super interesting when he said, how do you think we're going to lose? And he goes, the cultists, one member at a time. They're going to get her, meaning their God, in their heart, and turn on you, just like they've been doing. So it sets up in this here. This has been going on for a while. That I get the sense that these cultists might have been part of this team. We get the sense that, like, not this team, but part of this, this society going on. We get the sense that these cultists turned because a real human person was murdered. Because he does say she was just a woman, she's dead. And he's like, no, she's our God, she protects us. So I found that really fascinating. And then you might want to say after that, and then he murders him. Then he just murders him straight up, right? And you might want to say that, okay, well, definitively they're in the wrong. But then when Ellie and Dinah go up to where they think they're going to find Abby and her crew, you see that these cultists have gone in there and killed a bunch of people and strung them up, and they're like guts are hanging out. So when I saw that, I'm like, I don't actually know who's the bad guy or the good guy here. I mean, are there any good guys? Are they both this? Because I don't know. Like, if I'm Jeffrey Wright and these cultists are doing this to my people, I'm burning hands too.
Yeah, and he also says to him that, because there was this talk about like murdering women and children, and he's like, you trained the kids, and he's pissed about it. He's like, you trained your kids to shoot at us, to try to kill us, and we defended ourselves. Like, what are you talking about? So, yeah, I kind of like, my guess is that, Ellie and Dinah they're just going to be stuck in the middle of this war in Seattle between these two factions, essentially. And there is going to be no good guy in the end with the two of them. I mean, they're both probably fucking doing whatever they got to do in their minds to survive. And, our main characters are just stuck in the middle of it, and there's nowhere to go. Yeah, it's a pretty fucked situation to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so then getting to the Ellie stuff, Ellie and Dinah roll into town. They see, I think it's the tank that those guys are blown up in, but even if it's not, there's a tank with overgrown moss on it. So it's definitely been there a while. They see like a sign that proclaims like the wolf. I forget the name of the group, but the wolves are here. And Ellie wants to go marching up, and Dinah's like, no, that's stupid, because if they're advertising they're there, that means, and Ellie fills it in like, that means they're ready for anyone to come, and they will see us coming up in broad daylight on horseback. So I like that exchange. They go in there, they see this carnage they had nothing to do with, and on the heels of this carnage, the actual backup has come, and like, what they got to hide, and they got to fight, and they got to get out of there, because they're not going to be believed they had nothing to do with this, especially because they're there to kill some of these people.
Yeah. And that whole chase that they have there, and like they're being run down and everything. Like, again, there's nowhere to go, and they're outnumbered and outgunned and everything like that. And then the clickers get involved in the thing, right? And then that's when that moment comes where Ellie sticks her forearm out to save Dinah and takes the bite, and Dinah's not buying it at all, and she thinks that Ellie's going to turn and is about to murder. And I'm going to tell you the truth, I literally had one of those moments where I yelled out loud, and I was watching in my house by myself earlier. I was like, oh shit, wait, does she know? Does she know? I was like, wait a second, I had no idea if Dinah knew or not. And then obviously the way she looked at it the first time, I'm like, all right, she doesn't know. And I'm like, that's going to make for a really interesting thing. Because it's why they highlighted it in the beginning of the season, right? We don't talk about that. Yeah. It was a nice setup.
Yep. That's why the only people who know was Joel and his brother and probably his brother's wife. That's it.
Yeah. Great.
But yeah, that they hole up in a hotel, and Ellie's like, I'm immune. Don't kill me. I love this line. She's like, because Dinah's got a gun and Dinah doesn't want to do this. And you find out like Dinah's kind of in love with Ellie and Ellie's in love with Dinah. And Dinah's like, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to take the bite from me? And Ellie said, I would sacrifice my life for you, but that's not what that was. I am immune. Just look, you stay up all night and hold that gun on me. I'm going to go sleep. If I wake up as a clicker, put me out. But watch. And of course, she doesn't wake up as a clicker because we know she's immune. They have this nice moment where they're together, and Dinah reveals to her that she's pregnant. And she took a pregnancy tester to in the last episode, which is why 10. She's like, I got to pee, or 6 or 8. Yeah. And she wants Ellie to help her raise it. It's going to be her and Ellie and the guy who knocked her up. I forget his name, but he's one of the leads of the town now. And I think that's where it ends with them. It ends with them kind of waiting things out and hoping, right? And they haven't left the hotel yet. I'm not misremembering this, right? Because I saw this I watched it when it came out on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, they basically that is more or less, where it kind of leaves off is like they're going to go ahead and figure out where the hell they're moving next. Oh, actually, no, because it's right after. Now, there's one more scene after that where she's even like they're about to jump into like a fight, and Ellie tells her to stay back now, and she's like, "Well, what do you mean?"
That's right, yeah.
And she's like, "Well, it's different." She just says it without saying it, but obviously knows like you're pregnant now. Like, she kind of, I guess, is kind of like in the protector, like fatherish role right there, where she's like, hey, to stay back. And then you could see that Dinah's not really having it. She's like, I'm not fucking useless. Like, I still got to have your back as well. Like, we're in this together. And they do have like, a moment there where it's like, hey, I'm not just going to sit back and, just that's it. Like, we're going to do this together. I'm here to help you on this mission here. And then, we need to do it. So that's where the big reveal is with that.
Yeah, but I think all in all, awesome episode. Oh, and they smoke like at least 2 of those guys getting out of that building, like stabbing the neck, and like I thought like maybe they would, we'll just, disarm them or what? No, they murdered the shit out of people up there.
Oh, so, no, they're not holding back.
All in all, I think great.
They're not holding back.
No,
I think it was a really great episode, especially the intense moments with. Jeffrey Wright's, scenes were all great. His whole thing, and I'm curious to see where that goes. And the whole Ellie getting, taking the bite, and Dinah not knowing, that was like a seriously tense thing that does go on for a little while there, because Dinah's not obviously buying it. She's like, obviously there's no immunity. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And Ellie even tells her, like, I'm immune, and honestly, I kind of wish I wasn't. Which, tells you there she's carrying guilt still with that whole thing, right? Like, she probably sees that that's partially what got, if you really draw it back to the beginning, like maybe what got Joel killed. She kind of is probably burdening some of that. Like, if it wasn't immune, well, she probably never meets Joel, right? Like, their whole thing never happens, and maybe Joel is still alive. Or then again, Joel doubles down on it and kills the Fireflies to save Ellie because she's immune. Like, again, like she kind of, I think she's carrying a burden with Joel's whole life being there. Well, not being there, for that. And the thing I did want to talk about too was there's a moment where Dinah and Ellie find the guitar, and they tune it up and stuff like that, and they're kind of holding out somewhere, and she starts playing it. She plays, "Take on Me" by Aha, which was in the first season of, right, like that was where they were in that mall and stuff like that. So she's singing it, and that's Bella Ramsey really performing this. I mean, she does a pretty nice job. She can sing there, and if she was playing the
she's
guitar
really
there,
good.
yeah, she's really good. But it's a moment there where Dinah's looking at her, and she's crying. She's getting teared up there, but she's also kind of like, the exchange that was right after was, Joel taught you really well. And she's like, yeah, something like you did. Like she was excited to see the guitar because that's what Joel and her, one of their last moments was about the guitar. He was fixing up for her and everything like that. So again, his presence is felt through this episode still, but him being gone. So that kind of shows the impact of the character still having on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's her grieving the loss of her father, right? And she's going to have these moments that remind her of their time together and him. And I think he's going to loom over this season. I don't even think Pedro Pascal will be in it anymore, but the shadow of Joel will loom over this season in a very powerful way, I think. And this is a great, great symbolic representation of that.
All right, so then that kind of takes us to our movie of the week. So I know we took our week off last week we took off because we focused. Our movie of the week was Thunderbolts / AKA the new Avengers, because Marvel did a wild marketing stunt on Monday afternoon. Did you see all of that?
That's baffling. I did.
Right?
Walter was telling me about it. I'm like, that's baffling to me because this movie just came out and you're spoiling the ending.
They were like, hey, listen, if you didn't see it opening, I mean, it did well financially. I mean, it didn't do like over $100 million, $200 million. It blew away its expectations, but they figured, hey, screw it. We're going to like rip the Band-Aid off. We're going to do this. But I think it will have some of the reaction of people like, oh shit, what? And now, if I didn't see it, I have to go see what the hell that is going on here. And that's the reaction I'm guessing that they're going for here. And having the whole cast involved with that, I thought was pretty smart. And it's actually, kind of fun here what they're doing with it. So I'm curious to see how that pays off. But if you do want to check it out too on YouTube, and I'll probably repost some of the stuff on Facebook because there were some technical difficulties getting the last 2 episodes out. But we have our spoiler review for Thunderbolts / New Avengers, and our non-spoiler review, up on the YouTube channel. But we do need to pick up our Alan Moore run of adaptations of films. So we did cover 2 weeks ago. We covered Zack Snyder's Watchmen, and then we weren't originally going to, but we decided let's also give Watchmen the ultimate cut. And I know this is the 3rd cut of the damn movie of Zack Snyder that he put out, but this seems to be the one that a lot of people lean on.
Yeah, well, I think the second cut was the director's cut, but everything in the director's cut, because I did see that, is in this. So I think like this is taken. I don't think you can still get the director's cut. I think this has taken its place.
Yeah, because it's not even on Max. Like this is on Max and the theatrical, and then that's it. Like they just kind of this about it, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
So it is almost 4 hours long because it's a Zack Snyder ultimate cut of something, one of his movies. And if you're familiar with Justice League and that whole thing, and Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, that's just it. And Rebel Moon, apparently his movies on Netflix also got ultimate cuts later on, and they're like fucking 9 hours long or whatever the hell it is. It seems to be his jam. Now, having said that, instead of rehashing the entire Watchmen movie, right? Like we both said, we enjoyed Watchmen, the theatrical cut. We liked it. Again, I even remember liking it a little bit. I liked it originally, but I think I liked it more this time around than I even recall because I saw it in the theaters and I honestly didn't watch it again. But for this one, this now includes the animated stuff that's piped in here throughout the film that is more reflective of the source material in the comics, which is basically what is it, the Black Frontier, or
it's the Black something. I keep thinking the Black Pearl, but that's
no, it's not Black Pearl.
Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah. Whatever. All right, whatever it is. It's basically peppered throughout the movie, and it is basically showing you what is a comic that one of the characters in the film is reading at a newsstand throughout it, and he picks it up and it goes on throughout the movie. And there are some extended scenes, like Jason, we were texting, that were there. Some action scenes are extended, some other scenes are extended. So you get a little bit more story there and stuff like that. Probably a little more slow motion and stuff as well.
No, but I'm gonna say this: there isn't a lot. There isn't a lot of slow motion. Like, I'm gonna say right off the top, because I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan, and I as much as I did enjoy the 5-hour cut or the 4-hour cut, whatever it is, of Justice League, I felt it was needlessly long because of the slow-mo scenes. Like, it could have been trimmed without losing any of the story. I felt the same thing with, well, I don't remember actually that. I just don't like Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice in any form. And I've never seen the other stuff, but I think one of his big failings is he's self-indulgent with some of the way that he portrays it. But I don't think he does that in this. I do not think that this is needlessly long. I don't think he does the self-indulgent, like, we made a joke about, we'll have 20 minutes of the big blue dick swinging, but there isn't any of that. Like, there's some extended scenes, but what he adds, whether it worked for you or not, I think adds to the story in one way or another. It's not just needless fluff, and B, it pays more love to the source material. And I think because of those two things, I'm actually going to say that I was unsure if this was my favorite of his movies, and I'm going to say now it is. And this is my favorite of his, like, Zack Snyder cuts. I think this will be in my rotation again. I really enjoyed this version.
All right, so I am going to say that I am not fully acknowledging that it's Black Freighter, by the way, is the comic book that is.
Oh, that's it, Black Freighter, yeah.
That I completely understand. And again, I read Watchmen many years ago. You're way more familiar with it than I am, because you've read it multiple times and stuff like that, and seen the original cut of this movie a bunch. I will say this. I will give credit to the Watchmen, the Ultimate Cut, on being more faithful to the source material. And I think for a fan such as yourself, who, Watchmen, we'd probably say is one of your favorite graphic novels, I guess.
Oh, 100%.
For sure.
100%.
Okay.
It's my non-favorite. It's my favorite non-Batman one, for sure.
Okay. So I think for a fan such as yourself, I can honestly completely understand why this is, you have love for this cut of the film as it is. I'm going to say, as someone who isn't, and it's not like I dislike Watchmen again, but it's just not in my favorite stuff. Yeah. I think the Black Freighter stuff, I'm going to be completely honest, as a film, doesn't work for me. And it's because I feel like it takes me out of the story that I'm trying to watch. Like, I just feel like it abruptly keeps coming back in more as the film goes on, as the story is ramping up, and as the intensity of the film is starting to roll on. The Black Freighter it keeps cutting back to it, and I found myself just wanting that to end so I can just get back to the movie, to be completely honest. And the thing is, the Black Freighter story, the only thing I didn't really know what it had to do with Watchmen, the story. Now, I don't know if it's like a parallel to Adrian Veidt's story or not, like, right? Yes, all right, so I didn't totally misinterpret that as something completely mindless or something like that.
No, it serves three purposes in the comic. One, it's Alan Moore exploring, if superheroes existed, they wouldn't make comics about them. What would they make comics about? Two, it starts off as a parallel for Rorschach, because like Rorschach, this guy sees the darkness and he wants to help, but it consumes him. But by the end, when it's revealed that Veidt has essentially done the same thing as Rorschach, just on a more intellectual level. It sort of parallels his whole journey too. But I will say this: as someone who's a super fan, I still don't think this should have been the original cut. Like, I'm with you. As a movie, if I'm looking at it just as a movie, this would not work. I don't think this ever should have been a theatrical cut. The only one thing in here, actually, I think that should have remained in the theatrical cut, and we'll get to it, but it's not one of these cartoon scenes. So I'm with you on that. But I'm glad this exists for super fans like myself, because it didn't take me out of it just because I know the story so well. But if I had only read this book once or never, and I'm sitting in the theater, I'd very likely have your reaction. Like, can we get back to the fucking story, please?
Yeah, and it's funny too, because like I watched this in 2 parts, which I know you do often for our movies. I'm going to be honest, I usually just try to get it done, knock it out in one sitting, because I want to experience it in one shot. This movie I did in 2 separate sittings. It was like back-to-back days. I think I did it in, and I watched the last hour and a half last night, and Angie watched it with me, and she's seen Watchmen before, but she was even like, "What the fuck is with the animated thing? And what does it have to do with anything?" And I'm like, I can see that, because I'm like, all right, so I wasn't the only one who felt like this. Now remember, she's never read Watchmen, or I didn't even explain it. She just, I explained it after the fact, just so she had an idea of what was going on. But I also agree. I don't disagree with you, though. I think for an alternate cut of a film, as much as I was earlier joking about Zack Snyder never just having one cut of his films, apparently there's always an ultimate cut and God knows what cut later. Even though I don't give him shit about Justice League, because that was a very unique situation where he didn't finish his film. Yeah, he didn't get a chance to finish his film, and Warner Brothers hired Josh Whedon to finish his film and royally fucked his film up, right? And I can see where you're Zack Snyder, but like, hey, can I just finish my damn movie? Because I'm kind of getting shit for a movie that I didn't really get to do. And of course, obviously, Warner Brothers and the whole online thing of the Snyder released the Snyder cut, help get that made, yada yada. And of course, I think he did go balls to the wall, bonkers with it then. And I've seen that twice, and that's what I'm saying. That one's different, and I probably agree. Like, it doesn't have to be 4 hours, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the Zack Snyder Justice League.
I agree.
Especially compared to Justice League. Like, that's not even close.
Oh yeah, no, it's a much better film. It's just
2 different movies.
As I said, my only problem with it is, and I said this absolutely, it's just a bit self-indulgent. But I think you're right. That had a lot to do with when he got to make his stuff, he was like, all right, well, I'm not making this for the theater anymore. I'm making this for HBO Max. I'm going to be indulgent. They stopped me from making my movie. Now I'm going to make a movie that only I could make. So, as a person who watched it, I was like, this is a bit self-indulgent. But again, I only felt not the story beats. It was only a lot of the slow-mo stuff. But it's like, you're Zack Snyder, you get to make your movie, and it's never going to see the light of day in a theater. Go ahead, do you, man? Yeah,
do your thing. Now, with his cut, of course, it was the black and white version that came out. Like, it was a couple weeks later or some shit like that. And I was like, oh, here we go. There's the alternate cut that only Zack Snyder has to get. And I guess with BVS, they made him cut time. Remember, Warner Brothers wanted to have more screenings of the movie to make more money, so they forced him to cut his movie down. And the ultimate version of Batman v Superman, again, these are movies we reviewed a long time ago in Granny's PC. Long time ago.
I think that was like the 3rd movie or 4th movie we reviewed, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was in our very, very early days. And again, they're actually available on the Pop Culture Pros YouTube channel, so you can actually go back and watch them there, because we don't get to have Snyder cuts of our show. But imagine that. Even though the first one, maybe that was the Snyder cut of Granny's Peach Tea.
That was I was thinking that was the Snyder cut, our 4-hour first episode.
No, but the thing is, like, BVS though, he unfortunately cut the wrong things out and cut part of the story out. I still stand by the ultimate cut of BVS, adds more to the story that was incoherent in the theatrical one. Not saying it fixes everything, but it does add more context to the story that was trying to be told, and it's not as jarring to me as the theatrical one. Still got issues, but it makes a little bit more sense to me. This though, outside of the Black Freighter stuff, right? Which again, we're both admitting that maybe for someone, unless you read the comics, that could definitely be a jarring thing that takes you out of the film constantly, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Let's get back to the movie. What are some of the other stuff that you clocked that stood out to you in this version versus the theatrical cut?
All right, so in one of the first scenes where the two night owls are having their drinks, that's extended, and there's like a little something like on the news about Rorschach, and that's kind of how he's introduced. So I saw that. That was fine. I don't think that added. I don't think you lose anything with that deleted. You get a lot more stuff between the newspaper salesman and the kid who's reading the comic, which doesn't work if you don't have the comic. So I get why that was taken out of the theatrical cut. However, I do love those scenes because they are comic accurate, and it actually does make more sense at the end, because at the end, when Dr. Manhattan destroys everyone, there's this moment of these two people embracing each other before they're obliterated. And in the theatrical cut, unless you read the comic book, you have no idea. You're just like, oh, these two randos are fucking embracing each other to die. And you don't really get that antagonistic relationship that changes a little bit every time we cut back in, because the world is getting a bit darker. Now, again, it doesn't work without the Black Freighter stuff, in my opinion, so I get why it was cut. But as a super fan, I was really happy to see it. It also does, one of those scenes does introduce what I had said last time of that newspaper that Rorschach reads being this like right-wing rag, because he does say it. Like, and there's that scene of Rorschach as Henry, Rorschach's coming every day, which is actually a running joke in the comic. Like, where's my magazine? It's before you even know he's Rorschach, like Walter Kovacs Rorschach. So, I like that. But again, do you lose anything cutting it? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think you lose anything story-wise, but you're right. What everything you said is, I guess it is way more. It is more comics accurate than, to be very, very accurate. But I just think that in the context of, does comics accurate always mean better for a film?
No,
maybe not. At least along the Black Freighter stuff. The other stuff, like you mentioned, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. What happens with Rorschach's journal? At the end of it, remember I was like, hey, they tell Watchmen. They basically tell you the story of Watchmen. Is what I think happened. It got public, and maybe they turned into a comic book, right? Like, ironically, that's what happens there, or a movie, or something like that. Like, that's basically what happens. The story of Watchmen gets told. And I had no idea about the right-wing propaganda thing until, we talked about it. And, at least it gets name dropped briefly in this.
Yeah, and it gives a bit more context of what might happen, or what if anything will happen afterward, because it's, as we talked about last time, it's very different than I'm giving this my account of the story to like CNN, as opposed to I'm giving it to whatever something that is just looking for sensational headlines and catering to a certain worldview that isn't really worried about the facts, because but again, for not for non-fans, for people who are just going to watch the Watchmen movie without the extensive knowledge, it's good context. You don't need it.
Yeah, which more or less is what I think. That's a good trimming down of editing. That's just good editing, I think, in the end. Like, that's you should be able to chop down without killing the director's vision.
Agreed. But that brings us to the scene that I actually do wish was kept in the original, and it was in the director's cut. before the Ultimate Cut, because of course I watched that, is the stuff with Night Owl and the Knotheads. Like right after Rorschach gets broken out of prison, the Knothead gang has this moment where like, oh, Rorschach, he broke my sister's or my uncle's leg. Or they're all talking about what a bad guy this is. And they go, oh, he was broken up by Night Owl. Hey, I know that guy. He's old. He lives up in the junkyard. And they go and they break in, they murder him. And that leads to an excellent character moment that I think is important for the Dryberg character that isn't in the original cut, where he's telling Rorschach's like, let's go and we're gonna bust up some people. We're gonna find out who knew Roy Chess. We're gonna break some legs. And Dryberg's like, no. All right, fine, we're gonna go, but you can't do this. You can't hurt these people. They're innocent. And then he sees that his mentor was murdered. And he finds the first knothead he sees there, and he like starts destroying him. And I think that shows a really interesting thing, because the whole point of this story is, the people who are the good guys aren't always the good guys, and Dryberg is the one who we think is the good guy, and it shows that even he has his limits to that. So that is those two scenes are the two scenes I would argue that I think, even for people who are not super fans of the comic, does add a lot to the story itself, and maybe should have been left in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I would say the director's cut of this, right? That just basically doesn't have the Night Freighter stuff, but it has everything else that's in the Ultimate. So that's probably that's probably the cut I would land on then.
That's probably it. It has everything but the Black Freighter stuff and the stuff between the newspaper person and the kid, because again, that stuff doesn't work without the Black Freighter. They're there. It wouldn't. So you cut that stuff out, but like all of the other extended scenes and these two added scenes, that's the director's cut.
So yeah, that's where I would probably land on the director's cut from the Ultimate Cut. That'd probably be my version of it. So the next time I want to watch The Watchmen, I will try to seek out the director's cut, and maybe that's the version that that I would land on.
Yeah, because I think those are cool scenes, and I think they're important scenes, and I actually love the way Zack Snyder shoots that. I mean, again, this is my favorite Zack Snyder movie. I wasn't sure. I'm with you. I do love his remake of Dawn of the Dead, but I think the fact that this is Watchmen really just cinches it for me. And just, I think the best of his talents, the best of what he does, is on display in this movie, like in the theatrical cut and in this cut. And not as much of the stuff that I kind of get pissed at him for in his later work is there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are no sucker punch moments. There are no Superman walking for 20 minutes to the bathroom. I mean, stuff like that's unnecessary, but it might not work as a movie, but I think, it really does show what he can do. And the moment when they kill the Night Owl, the old Night Owl, the cut scenes between him, and he's fucking holding his own for an old man.
No,
and the cut scenes, every time he lands a punch, it flashes back to when he was younger. And then, it's kind of like it's him older and younger fighting. And when they get him down, they're about to kill him. He has that flash of Moloch as a younger person, like him fighting him. And I thought stylistically, the way Snyder cut that together, or, did that, I think it was beautiful. I think it was really, really well done.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I mean, I'm going to still stand by. I think my favorite Zack Snyder movie is his Dawn of the Dead, which is also written by James Gunn.
That's fair.
So that's interesting that
Great
the two
movie.
of them teamed up, for that. And man, I don't like Watchmen. And again, I know I like Man of Steel more than you do, and I like BVS Ultimate Cut more than you do. But Man of Steel is probably the better movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I really do like it. I do. That's tough. The 4 hours is a bit, I could see that. That's definitely a bit self-indulgent, but I really did enjoy it though.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I just think those movies are self-indulgent in a way that his earlier movies aren't. And even this movie, this cut of this movie isn't. And I think that's for me what I'm saying. Like I'm not shitting on Zack Snyder. We make fun. I always make fun of BVS and the title and just some of the ridiculousness that goes on in it. Can't let a Martha joke go by. But having said all that, like I like him. I think he's probably a good dude who makes some really good movies. And even when I don't like his movies necessarily as a whole, there are things to like in it. Like I think I said on the podcast, I tried to force myself to watch Sucker Punch because I think it looks great. And it does look great. I stand by that. It just is so incomprehensible that I can't get through it. But so he's not a terrible director. I think he's a very good director. I just prefer him earlier on in his career when he's not so self-indulgent. We see that in this. We see that in 300 because he did 300, right?
Yes, that's also
him?
Shit. I forgot about 300. You're right. That's actually a great. That's a Zack Snyder movie I really like. Also, wow, I completely skipped my mind.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic movie, and we should cover that in the show one day because that is based on a comic. And Dawn of the Dead. Like I think those three movies are his best, and they're also his earliest because it's back when he has had a bit restraint. And I like some of the later movies, and I don't like BVS, but I did like Man of Steel, just not as much as you, and I did like the Justice League, just not as much as you. But I think there are more self-indulgent moments even in those two movies. That's what tips the scales for me.
Yeah. I think I stand by it. I think he's an incredible visual storyteller. I think he just needs to hone it in a bit and realize as an editor, maybe when he edits his movies, what to cut, what to keep, and what to let go. Right? And that's why we get so many cuts of his movies eventually, because eventually the studios are probably like, sure, now you can do whatever the hell you want. And his movies end up being 4 hours long. I think, again, that's where I would say my criticism is as a director is just, you got to know what to keep and what to let go, while still telling a coherent story and getting the point across.
If they let him shoot what he wanted and then hired an editor who was exceptionally good at their job and had the balls to say, I'm sorry, Zach, sometimes, as they say in the literary world, when you're a writer, you got to kill your darlings, man. I know you love it, but it's not working. I think if he had someone like that, I think he would consistently be making bangers. With again, the only exception I'd say to that is Sucker Punch, because that story I just couldn't. I don't know what's going on there. But like every other movie we talked about, like if you edit Justice League just a little bit, I'm not even saying it shouldn't be 3 hours. I'm not even saying it shouldn't be 3.5 hours. I'm just saying edit down some of the unnecessary stuff. And that's where a good editor who can kind of just say, I know you love watching Superman walk for 20 minutes, Zach, but we got to think of the audience. Like, I think that's where his stuff could go from really good and visually stunning to amazing films.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. Yeah, and I've heard similar things about his Rebel Moon movies. That again, which was a Star Wars script that never got Star Wars movie that never got made, and he just retooled it and made it Rebel Moon.
Oh,
and well, that's the Netflix. Yeah, that's the Netflix movies that he made, and those things got shredded apart, both parts of it, and a lot of people do not like same type of shit, self-indulgent, incoherent at times. I didn't even bother. I'm like, whatever. I don't have any interest in this. I don't care about. I don't want like off-brand Star Wars.
Same. I barely even watch Star Wars anymore. There's so much of it. I'm not gonna fucking be diving into off-brand Star Wars.
And listen, by the way, I was also this weekend. I'm doing mini binges of Andor season 2. Did you watch Andor season 1?
I gotta get on that.
Did you do season 1?
I got to do both seasons. I didn't. No, I didn't. I want to though, because you would dig Andor. Andor is some of the best Disney era Star Wars that there's been. I mean, I still think Rogue One, which this is a prequel to,
and Mandalorian are some of the best. And Force Awakens, I still stand by before that trilogy got turned into shit. But Andor
Somehow,
season 2, I'm
Emperor
3
Palpatine.
episodes in. Yes, exactly. That's all you need to know about what happened to that trilogy. Somehow returned. No, it's good. I would recommend it. Andor season, like Rick was asking, like, why didn't you guys do Star Wars in Granny's PhD? I'm like, talk to Tim.
You can't.
Talk
You
to
can't.
Tim.
I mean,
we also are our
I'd love
bandwidth
to, and
of insanity. Yeah, we have a lot
I mean,
on our plate to begin.
That's true. That's true. But you know that I'm just looking for, like, I'm simply just looking for an excuse to do the Christmas special. I mean, you know.
That's what this all comes back to. It's just, that's
all comes back to it.
All right. Well, that does it for us this week then. Thanks for joining us as always. If you joined us on the Facebook live stream, check out Granny's Peachy's Facebook group where we share a bunch of trailers and other memes and all of this fun stuff that goes on there. So check us out. Check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com because that's who we are presented by. And wherever you found your audio-only podcast, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros, and YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. A lot of cool stuff on the network and on the website. Jason and I will be back next week. We're not quite finished with the Watchmen yet because we have the Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. We always watch the Watchmen. The animated films. Yeah, DC did animated films for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of Watchmen. So they're both on Max right now, so we'll check those out, and we'll see how that adaptation went. I'm curious to know if the Night Freighter's involved, what else is involved. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm curious, are we getting the octopus? Are we getting the space octopus? I want to know.
I think, and again, I think we are. That's my guess right now, is that it probably went balls to the wall, comics accurate.
I hope we do. You know I hope we do.
I know you do. And we'll be talking about episode 5 of The Last of Us season 2. So we'll see you next week. Any moms and stuff watching, happy Mother's Day in advance. And we'll see you then.
Right.
Peace.
Later.